On the busiest street in Manchester, there was a man who sat on the same corner every single day. William Carter, 58 years old, dressed in filthy clothes, hair disheveled, bearded and exhausted looking. People called him Mad William. Every morning at the same time he'd arrive, lay down pieces of cardboard on the ground, and sit on them. He appeared to be scavenging for food from bins, but if you looked carefully, you'd notice something odd. His eyes were always on the children. The teenagers heading to school, the little ones playing in the street, the adolescents who were prime candidates for gang recruitment. When children approached, he'd make strange noises, frightening them away. "Grr! Stay away from me!" he'd growl, waving his arms about. The children would scream and run. "That man's dangerous," the local residents would say. "We need to keep our kids away from him. The bloke's completely mad." But William's real story was more different than anyone could ever imagine. This madman actually owned millions of pounds. And the reason he lived on the streets had a past so painfully tragic that no one could guess. Every night, after everyone had gone to sleep, William would completely transform. It was as if he became a different person entirely, because in those dark hours he carried out his true mission. You see, Mad William wasn't mad at all. He was something far more extraordinary. He was a guardian angel disguised as a madman. And the children he frightened during the day, he was actually protecting them from dangers they couldn't even see. But to understand why a millionaire would choose to live on the streets, why he'd pretend to be insane, and why he'd dedicate his life to protecting street children, we need to go back 15 years. Back to the night that changed everything. Back to the night William Carter lost the most precious thing in his world, and once you hear that story, you'll never look at homeless people the same way again. Because sometimes the richest people are those who appear to have nothing, and sometimes the greatest love is expressed through the most unexpected sacrifices. William Carter was about to teach an entire city what it truly means to protect the innocent. But first, he had to lose everything that mattered to him. 15 years ago, William Carter was a completely different man. He was one of the youngest chief inspectors in the Greater Manchester Police. He had a beautiful house in a nice part of the city, a loving wife named Sarah, and a brilliant 12-year-old son named Danny. Danny was football mad, Manchester United's biggest fan. He'd plastered Wayne Rooney posters all over his bedroom walls. Every evening when his father returned from work, they'd play football in the garden. That evening, as William was heading out for his night shift, Danny ran up to him. "Dad, will you play football with me in the park tomorrow?" William ruffled his son's hair. "Of course, son. I promise." That was the last promise he ever made to Danny. That night, William was conducting an operation in the south of the city with an organized crime unit. He was trying to catch drug smugglers. While he was fighting for justice on one side of the city, his own son was attacked by a gang near their home. At 23:47, the phone rang. Sarah's scream came from the other end of the line. "William! Danny! They've shot Danny!" William felt his world collapse in that moment. He raced to the hospital with sirens blaring, but it was too late. 12-year-old Danny had lost his life on the very streets his father couldn't protect. Seeing his son's body at the hospital, something inside William broke. Broke forever. "I failed to protect my own son while protecting others," he whispered. Sarah looked at him, fury in her eyes. "You weren't there, William. You were never there." And that night, the life William Carter knew came to an end. The guilt was unbearable. How could he, a chief inspector, a man whose job was to protect people, fail to protect his own child? How could he have been chasing criminals across the city while his son was dying just miles from home? The newspapers covered the story. Police chief's son killed in gang violence. The irony was cruel. William Carter, the man who'd put hundreds of criminals behind bars, couldn't save his own boy. At the funeral, William stood in his dress uniform, medals gleaming on his chest. But inside, he felt like a fraud. What good were all those commendations when he couldn't protect the one person who mattered most? Sarah's words echoed in his mind. You chose your job over your family every single time. She was right. Every missed dinner, every canceled weekend, every broken promise to Danny, it all led to this moment. That night, staring at Danny's empty bedroom, William made a decision that would change everything. The toys scattered on the floor, the United scarf hanging on the chair, the homework left unfinished on the desk. Everything was a reminder of his failure as a father. "I'm sorry, son," he whispered to the empty room. "I'm so sorry I wasn't there." But sorry wasn't enough. Nothing would ever be enough. The only thing left was to make sure no other child would suffer Danny's fate, even if it meant sacrificing everything he had left. After Danny's funeral, everything changed. Sarah looked at William one last time. "You failed to protect your own son while protecting others. There's no place for you in this house anymore." And she packed her bags, and he left. That night, William placed his police badge on the table. 25 years of career, all his achievements, his awards. He left it all behind. He resigned. He sold the big house, Danny's room, his toys, his United posters. He left everything behind. The sale brought in $2.8 million, plus his police pension and investments. His total wealth reached $3.2 million. But he deposited the money in the bank and threw himself onto the streets. "I lost my own son while protecting others," he told himself. "Now I'll protect Danny's peers. I'll live among them. I'll keep them safe from dangers." The first night he slept on a piece of cardboard in the city center. Cold, hard, merciless streets. But for William, this was punishment. The punishment he gave himself. Days passed, weeks passed. William's appearance changed. His hair grew long, his beard grew out, his clothes became dirty. People stopped recognizing him. Former police colleagues would walk past him without noticing. But William had a purpose. Every day he watched the children, learning which gangs were active in which areas, identifying the dangers. The transformation wasn't just physical. William developed an entire persona. He studied the behavior of people with mental illness, learned how to make himself appear threatening yet harmless. He practiced different voices, different mannerisms. He chose his corner strategically. It was on the main street where many vulnerable children passed daily. Gang recruitment was high in the area. Drug dealing was rampant. It was exactly where Danny's peers needed protection most. The local shopkeepers grew used to him. "Mad William," they'd say, shaking their heads. Some felt sorry for him, occasionally offering food. Others were annoyed by his presence, calling the police to move him along. But William always returned to his corner. He developed routines that made him seem genuinely disturbed, talking to himself, making strange gestures, collecting random objects. But every action had a purpose: to observe, to learn, to identify threats to the children. During the day, he played the madman role. At night, he revealed his true identity. Thus was born Manchester's richest homeless man. But nobody knew this, and William wanted it that way. Because at night, when the streets emptied and the real dangers emerged, Mad William disappeared. And in his place stood Chief Inspector William Carter, protector of the innocent, guardian of the vulnerable. The children he frightened during the day had no idea that the scary homeless man was actually their secret guardian angel. Every night, William would patrol the streets with the skills of a trained police officer and the determination of a father who had lost everything. He knew every alley, every corner where trouble might lurk. He wasn't just watching anymore. He was actively hunting the predators who threatened children like Danny. And soon, his secret mission would be put to the ultimate test. When night fell, William completely transformed. The Mad William mask dropped, and former Chief Inspector William Carter emerged. 14-year-old Marcus Thompson lived in the eastern part of the city. His father was absent, his mother worked 2 jobs. Marcus spent time on the streets, hanging around with the wrong crowd. That evening on the main street, gang leader Tommy Jenkins approached Marcus. "Oi, kid, tomorrow night you're coming with us. Time to prove yourself, innit?" Marcus was scared, but couldn't refuse. Gang membership was a way of survival in this neighborhood. But a voice rose from the shadows. "The boy's not going anywhere." William emerged from the darkness. Tommy laughed. "Who the hell are you, old man? The mad homeless bloke?" William pulled out his old police ID. His voice carried cold authority. "Former Chief Inspector William Carter, Greater Manchester Police, and this boy is under my protection now." Tommy's face changed. The police ID was still valid. "You're having a laugh, mate. You're just a tramp." William stepped closer. "Try me, son. I know every dealer, every fence, every safe house in this city. One phone call, and your entire operation is finished." The threat wasn't empty. William still had contacts throughout the police force. Informants who owed him favors. Officers who respected him. His network was intact, even if he no longer wore the uniform. Tommy looked at his gang members uncertainly. This wasn't some random homeless nutter. This was a former senior police officer who clearly still had connections. "You're bluffing," Tommy said, but his voice lacked conviction. William pulled out a mobile phone, not the broken one he carried during the day, but a functioning smartphone. He scrolled through contacts, showing names Tommy would recognize. Senior detectives, anti-gang unit commanders. "Shall I make that call?" William asked, calmly. Tommy and his gang retreated, but not before Tommy spat. "This ain't over, old man." Marcus stared in amazement. Are you really police?" William's voice softened. "Not anymore, lad. Just someone who cares about keeping you safe." "But why? You don't even know me." William's eyes filled with tears. "Because I once had a son your age, and I failed to protect him." Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Safety. This strange man, who everyone thought was crazy, had just risked his life to protect him. "What was his name? Your son?" "Danny. Danny Carter. He'd be about your age now if—" William's voice trailed off. "What happened to him?" "He died, because I wasn't there when he needed me most. But I'm here for you now, Marcus, and for every kid like you." That night, Marcus went home safely. But this was just the beginning. Word spread quietly among the street children. Mad William wasn't mad at all. He was their protector. But the adults didn't believe it. How could a homeless man protect anyone? They had no idea that this homeless man had millions in the bank and decades of police experience. They couldn't imagine that someone would choose to live on the streets to protect their children. But William's mission was just beginning, and soon his secret would be tested in ways he never imagined. Because protecting children from gangs was one thing, but what happened when the real predators emerged? The ones who didn't just want to recruit children, but to destroy them completely. William was about to face his greatest challenge yet. And this time, it would nearly cost him everything. Months passed. Among the street children, William became a legend. "Mad William actually protects us," they whispered to each other. But the adults didn't believe it. 16-year-old Lisa Rodriguez lived in the southern part of the city. Her mother was trying to raise her alone. Lisa was a bright girl who wanted to go to university. But in their neighborhood, that wasn't easy. One night, Lisa was returning late from work. She worked part-time at a cleaning company, helping her mother. Walking down the main street, a van stopped beside her. "Get in the car, love. Boss wants to see you." Lisa tried to run, but was caught. The gang kidnapped her. She was to be taken to another city for human trafficking. When William learned of this, he went mad with rage. He searched for Lisa all night. He used his old police connections, activated his informants. He found the gang's warehouse outside the city. At midnight, he infiltrated the warehouse. The place was heavily guarded, but William's police training kicked in. He moved like a shadow, avoiding the sentries. He found Lisa tied up in a back room, terrified and crying. "It's okay, love," he whispered. "I'm here to get you out." But the gang members spotted him. A fight broke out. William was outnumbered, but his years of police training and the fury of a father protecting a child gave him strength. He fought like a man possessed. These weren't just criminals to him. They were the same type of people who had killed Danny. Every punch he threw was for his son. Every move was driven by 15 years of suppressed rage and guilt. William was injured but managed to get Lisa out. As they escaped, she asked through her tears, "Why did you do this? You could have died for me. I'm nobody special." William smiled through his pain. "You remind me of someone very special, love. I once had a son who wanted to change the world, just like you want to go to university. What happened to him? I wasn't there when he needed me most, but I'm here for you now." In the ambulance, Lisa held William's hand. "Thank you. I'll never forget this." The incident made local news. Homeless man saves teenager from trafficking ring. But the reporters got it wrong. They portrayed William as a lucky vagrant who stumbled into heroism. They had no idea they were looking at a former chief inspector with millions in the bank who had chosen this life to protect children like Lisa. The police who responded to the scene didn't recognize William. 15 years of living rough had changed him completely. His former colleagues walked past him without a second glance. But among the street children, the legend grew. Mad William wasn't just protecting them from gangs, he was saving them from the worst kinds of predators. Marcus started telling other kids, "If you're in trouble, find Mad William. He'll help you." Lisa recovered from her ordeal and returned to school with renewed determination. She didn't know that William was secretly paying for her textbooks and school supplies through anonymous donations. But William's secret life was about to be exposed. And when it was, everything would change. Because sometimes, the truth has a way of coming out at the most unexpected moments. And for William Carter, that moment was just around the corner. The warehouse fight had left him more injured than he'd initially realized. And when he collapsed on his corner 3 days later, clutching his chest in pain, the secret he'd guarded for 15 years was about to be revealed to the world. The homeless man, who was actually a millionaire, was about to become front-page news, but not in the way anyone expected. Chapter 6. The Truth Revealed. 600 words. At the hospital, the doctor found something shocking in William's pocket. A bank card. When he checked the balance, he couldn't believe his eyes. $347,000. Former police colleague Inspector Tom Bradley rushed to the hospital. "William Carter! Bloody hell, mate! We thought you were dead. We've been looking for you for 15 years. The truth came out. William was a millionaire, but he'd been living on the streets for 15 years. Tom asked in amazement, "Why, William? Why are you living like this? With this money, you could live anywhere, do anything." William tearfully pulled out Danny's photo from his pocket. "I couldn't protect Danny, Tom. My own son died while I was chasing criminals across the city." That wasn't your fault, mate. Wasn't it? I chose the job over my family every single time. And when Danny needed me most, I was somewhere else, playing hero. Tom listened in silence. These kids on the street, Tom, they're all Danny to me. Marcus, Lisa, all of them. I can't bring my son back, but I can protect theirs. But living on the streets? You're destroying yourself. William shook his head. Money doesn't make me happy, Tom. Knowing these children are safe does. Every life I save is a promise kept to Danny. At that moment, Tom understood. William's wealth wasn't his money. It was the lives he'd saved. Marcus and Lisa came to the hospital room. When they saw William, they ran to his side. "We heard what happened," Lisa was crying. "Are you okay?" William smiled. "I'm fine, love. Just a scratch." Marcus asked, "Is it true? Are you really rich?" "Money is just paper, son. What matters is what you do with it." The hospital staff were amazed. Nurses whispered among themselves, "That homeless man is a millionaire?" But William's wealth meant nothing to him. What mattered were the faces around his bed. Marcus, Lisa, and the other children he'd protected over the years. Tom pulled him aside. "William, you can't keep living like this. You're not getting any younger. What happens to these kids when you're gone?" William had been thinking about this too. His body was wearing down from years on the streets. The fight at the warehouse had reminded him he wasn't invincible. "I've been thinking about that, Tom. Maybe it's time for a different approach." "What do you mean?" "I mean, maybe Mad William has served his purpose. Maybe it's time for William Carter to come back properly." That night, William made a decision that would change everything. Not just for him, but for every street child in the city. He was going to use his wealth not just to protect them in the shadows, but to give them a real chance at life. A chance Danny never got. The transformation was about to begin again. But this time, it wouldn't be from successful police officer to homeless guardian. This time, it would be from secret protector to public savior. And the children he'd spent 15 years protecting in the darkness were about to see their guardian angel step into the light. Because sometimes, redemption doesn't come from hiding your past, but from using it to build a better future. And William Carter was about to show an entire city what that looked like. 6 months later, a new youth center opened in the city. The Danny Carter Youth Center, built with William's money. On the main street, directly across from the corner where William used to sit. The center was open 24 hours. Street children could come here and stay safely. Marcus now worked there as a volunteer. He was preparing for university entrance exams, teaching other children. Lisa had been accepted to Cambridge. She was going to study law. William was covering all her expenses. But William still lived on the streets. He was no longer known as Mad William, but as Guardian William. Children would run up to him, no longer afraid, but loving him. Every evening he would go to the city cemetery. He would sit by Danny's grave. "Son, I kept my promise. 50 children are safe now because of you. Marcus is going to university. Lisa will become a lawyer. They're all going to change the world, just like you wanted to." The gravestone read, "Danny Carter, beloved son, gone too soon, but never forgotten." William continued, "I know I can't bring you back, Danny, but every child I save, every life I change, it's all for you, son." The wind rustled the leaves. William felt as if he could hear Danny's voice. "I'm proud of you, Dad." Tom Bradley came up beside him. "Still talking to him?" "Every day, mate. Every single day." "You know he'd want you to be happy, right? To have a proper home?" William smiled. "I am happy, Tom. For the first time in 15 years, I'm truly happy. These kids are my home now." The Danny Carter Youth Center had become more than just a shelter. It was a beacon of hope in the city. Children who had nowhere else to go found safety there. Those who wanted to study found tutoring. Those who needed medical care found help. William had hired social workers, teachers, counselors, all funded from his personal wealth. He'd created what he wished had existed when Danny was alive, a place where children could be truly safe. In the distance, Marcus and Lisa were coming. They had flowers for Danny. "Come on, then." William stood up. "Let's go home." And the four of them walked together. William Carter's story teaches us this. Sometimes the richest people are those who appear to have nothing. And sometimes the greatest love is expressed through silent service. Because true wealth is measured by the lives you save. And William Carter had saved 50 lives in memory of his son. Danny's soul was now at peace. His father had kept his word. The homeless man, who was actually a millionaire, had found something more valuable than money. He had found redemption. And in saving others, he had finally saved himself. Every night, as William walked the streets of the city, children would wave to him from their windows. Parents who once feared him now blessed him. The community that had once shunned Mad William now embraced Guardian William. And somewhere in heaven, a 12-year-old boy named Danny Carter smiled down at his father, finally proud of the man he had become. The corner where Mad William once sat was now marked with a small plaque, in memory of all the children who need protection. But William knew the real memorial wasn't made of bronze. It was made of the lives he'd saved and the futures he'd secured. 50 children, 50 second chances, 50 promises kept to a son who would never come home,